Welcome to Wishes in Wonderland with Christine Collins. Welcome, I'm Christine Collins, and we are here today to dive down the rabbit hole together and have a little bit of fun, magical mad tea party style. We will talk about your unfinished plans or goals from this year, any barriers that stopped you, and then where to go from here. Before we dive in, I would like to acknowledge the custodians of the lands and waterways on which I live and work, which is the Hohokam, Pima, and Maricopa tribes, as well as marginalized communities who have helped to create our nation. And I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So we're going to have some fun today, and there will be goodies and prizes at the end as well. So the way that will work is every single person who signed up for the webbie, whether you're here live or watching the replay, will get a magical prize when you email me a question about today's material. I would really love to know what things came up for you while you were listening. You probably already know me at least a little bit, but briefly, I'm Christine Collins. I help intuitive, imaginative solopreneurs to make their business feel easier through both mindset and messaging support. My background is a master's in psychology and in marketing, and I'm a certified master NLP hypnotherapist, also an EFT and yoga nidra practitioner. And in our work together, we play with things like desire-based, client-centered marketing, niching, neuroscience, as well as mindset support for you, which is just a long way of saying I help you to feel better and be more successful. Putting all of that together just creates bippity boppity magic. And now I would like to formally invite you to tea with a warm welcome for all of my intuitive, imaginative, empathic, sensitive, neurodivergent, misfit, multi-passionate, occasionally perfectionistic, and self-reflective solopreneurs. Now, you're probably here because you had a big, yummy goal or a plan or an intention from this year that hasn't happened yet. And so you're probably also drawn to imaginative things, including the theme of this webbie. So let's get off on our way to Wonderland and down the rabbit hole. So we're in Wonderland today because this magical world is the perfect analogy for visiting with those deeper parts of ourselves that we need in order to be successful. You'll find after today's journey that you'll emerge just a little bit different, just like Alice coming back from her adventure and feeling all grown up and ready for tea. We'll learn how to tango with that deeper self so that we can truly have our wishes in Wonderland. Now, Alice's descent in Wonderland takes her first to this mystical hall of doors. There are dozens of doors and one particular door that leads into a beautiful garden that she really wants to get into. So for our purposes, that little garden represents your goal or dream or gorgeous plan. But the tricky bit is she finds the key to get through that little door on top of a table, but she's too tall to fit through the door once she gets it unlocked. So she drinks this magical potion, shrinks her down to the proper size, but then she realizes she's left the key back up on top of the table, and now she's too small to get it in order to get through that door. That feeling of frustration is sometimes akin to how our unfinished goals and plans feel, like they're just out of reach. And if only we had that missing piece, that missing key, or maybe we even feel like we need to change in order to reach that goal. And sometimes that missing key is your mindset. When you've got the website and the socials and the copy and all the things, but you don't have the mindset sorted, it can really wreak havoc on your goals. Our neuroscience is wired for survival, great for keeping us alive, less great for business goals where some risk can be needed. And in order to do that successfully without setting off a ton of alarm bells and warning signs as we try to get to our big yummy goal, we need to sort out that little magical mindset key, our gorgeous key into the beautiful garden of our dreams and our wishes. So now let's have a look at what we can do to get that magical key into our hands to get what we want. So as we're gazing out at this beautiful little garden that we can't quite reach, it's a good time to just pause briefly here and ask you, what was your big goal or vision or plan that you had? What was the thing you hoped to accomplish or bring out into the world? And do you remember what it felt like when you first conjured that idea? Can you kind of tune into that energy, however briefly? A lot of times when we lose momentum on a goal or a project, we are actually disconnected from the original vision that we had, and we've lost touch with that excitement that we had. So conjuring up that vision can kind of help give the energy for our journey, powering up our plans and the steps that we need to get us there. So just briefly, what was the goal and what made it so exciting? If you want to share it with me, you can, or you can make notes for yourself, or you can just think through it in your own mind, whatever suits you best. And I'm also curious, has anything changed since? So since you first created that goal, that vision, has anything changed? And sometimes that vision will change a little because now you are better informed. You have already walked the path a little bit in terms of being able to see what didn't work in relation to it. And even if you never got started on the goal, that's really good information too. So it's brilliant to be able to look and gather these insights, because now it gives us the opportunity to truly up-level and update that vision. So of course, in her adventure, Alice quickly discovers that that beautiful garden is in the realm of the Queen of Hearts. And she is a bit put out because she had wanted red roses and she got white roses. And also someone has stolen her tarts and she's a bit ready to be off with someone's head. So perhaps you can even relate as you tune into your own incomplete or unfinished goal or dream. Do you notice anything kind of rising up, like frustration, anger, disappointment? I know for myself, sometimes I'll feel either disappointed or upset or even embarrassed, like I don't even want to tell anyone or even admit to myself that I'm feeling that disappointment. So don't worry, because we're not going to be staying stuck here on this feeling. It's really just taking a little moment to recognize the emotional response, no matter how small. And in doing so, in that allowing, we are acknowledging the little part of us that may still be carrying grief or disappointment and allowing it to be heard rather than suppressed so that we can truly move forward. So here's my message for that little part of you right now. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right, because the story doesn't end here. The story is just beginning, and it's about to get really, really good. So if you haven't already done something like this, I also suggest making a little list of everything that you have gotten done this year, anything noteworthy for you. It doesn't have to be business related. It's just a matter of recognizing what your time actually did go into, and it's perfectly valid if it was small things like taking care of your health or your home or your family. Maybe something like managing meals in a brand new way, or making a small improvement somewhere in your life or in your business. It can be so easy for us to forget the things we did do or did finish. So make sure that you are recognizing your accomplishments at the same time that you're acknowledging the pieces that didn't get completed. And those big sweeping achievements are no more important than the small but consistent things that we do. So make sure that you give yourself that recognition for that as well. And we can now release this old feeling, because we're going to create something new today. And that is really beautiful and exciting, and it's going to feel so good. So going back to who stole the tarts, if we think about what was the true culprit of this goal not coming into fruition, or who was it? It most likely was not the Cheshire Cat and not the Mad Hatter. So I'm curious to know, what do you think is the reason for things not going as you had hoped? Was it something external? Something that's happened around you? Something in your environment? Something in the world at large? Something to do with other people? Their decisions, they were distracting you, they were needing you, or interfering with your intentions in some way? Was it bigger systems like algorithms or reach in social media? Was it lack of resources or lack of support? And it can certainly be more than one of these. And now, as we're thinking through what might have contributed to things not happening or goals not being completed, because I know some of you are like me, the first thing that you'll do rather than blame anything external or look around you is to point the finger at yourself and start to beat up on yourself and conclude that it was a result of some alleged internal flaw. And if that is happening for you, I'm going to extend a suggestion of gentleness. You might think that it was because of procrastination or squirrel brain, which I run into a lot, like your mind going in too many directions, or a fear of judgment or perfectionism, or just inability to even get started in the first place. Or maybe it was an overcommitment to too many different things. While it's fine to kind of notice and observe if you think these are some of the things that played a role, I also encourage that gentleness, that you go easy on yourself. We can objectively observe the moments that maybe we would do over without all of that self-shaming about what that means about us as people. And this is the part where there's often a story tucked in there. And I would like to propose that we call it an identity story. Identity stories are about ourselves, but stretch further than just something really general about the world, like money doesn't grow on trees. An identity story is something like, I never get it right, or I always come up with brilliant ideas but never follow through. So if you're carrying something like that around, you are absolutely not alone. And one in particular that I see really often is along the lines of, well, so-and-so can make that work, but I can't. Or if I only had blank, then I could do it. And it's totally okay. We all do this at times. But what it makes me think of is this Alice in Wonderland concept of jam tomorrow, jam yesterday, but never jam today. So it's kind of like they can have it, but I can't, or it works for other people, but not for me, or it's always in the future, but it's never coming now. And in our Alice in Wonderland adventures, we inevitably encounter the wise caterpillar who asks us, "Who are you?" And with all of the changing and reflecting that we're doing, this can be hard to answer. But the magical part about it is that we get to decide. Because these little identity stories are built into all of us, and I think the tendency can be to assume that the order that things happen is first something external happens, and then we respond, we have a behavior, and then that final step is developing the belief or the identity story. But a much more empowering approach that's backed by neuroscience would be to reverse that order and to say that our identity stories actually create our behavior and our habits. And the way that we behave and make choices and do things habitually then affects our environment and the world around us and our outcomes. Our reticular activating system in the brain will kind of zoom in on features in our environment that reflect or match our primary focus or belief, and actually cause us to notice those things more. So we notice things largely based on what we focus on or believe. And that belief then dictates our behavior, which has a really big effect then on the external world and how it relates back to us. So for example, if we're walking around with the belief that I am a person who makes sales from my offer posts or emails, then the actions we perform will line up based on that belief and will behave in a manner befitting someone of that identity story. In contrast, if we have an identity story of I am a person who always gives away too much for free, or I am someone who never makes sales, then we also tend to act in a way that corresponds to that belief. And what's even crazier is that that lovely reticular activating system will also continue to seek out confirmation of our existing belief, so that the more we believe it and put our focus there, the truer it actually gets. So let's just play with that for a moment. In the spirit of this magical world that we're in, let's play with a little Cheshire Cat style shape-shifting and try on an identity story as if it were a little hat that you could take on and off. And this is just for practice, just for fun. So identity stories are shaped like this. I am someone who, and you could play with an identity story like I'm someone who gets things done. Or if that feels like too much of a stretch, we could just do something really simple and go with I'm someone who loves the color green. And I just want to say that if you truly genuinely hate the color green, don't pick that one. Pick one that's neutral but's not your favorite. So now you can just imagine for a little moment that this is your new identity. I am someone who loves the color green. And then have a look at what things might follow from that. What behaviors might follow if this identity story were true. If that was your identity, when it's time for you to select a pen or choose a game piece or buy a new notebook or a new mug, you might be choosing green things. And in performing those behaviors, it directly translates into the world around you and your experience in your home. Things will suddenly be more green everywhere. People will be buying you green things because you are carrying and living out that identity story. And they are actually more pliable than we realize. The cool thing is, thanks to neuroplasticity, we have a gorgeous opportunity to design and adopt new identity stories anytime we want to. And when you change an identity story, it can have huge tsunami-like waves that will continuously ripple out into your behaviors, into your choices, and ultimately into the experience that you have. If you stepped into Wonderland today carrying a story that says, I start things and never finish them, and you opt to change that story, now you're back in the driver's seat of the carriage. So the question is, who are you? Or perhaps more appropriately, whom do you want to be? So let's just do a little up-leveling right now, shall we? If you have an identity story or any type of belief or story, one that you can see is interfering with your goals and plans, let's just have a little play with it as we go along our path in Wonderland. So we pass through this garden of talking flowers, and then we come upon a castle, and it seems like it's a little bit unusual inside. And when we go in, we discover a looking glass that actually peers into a replica castle where everything is reversed. So this is a great time to turn some things a little bit inside out and maybe make some changes. So there are two primary focal points in this magical castle. One is a tall turret near the top that houses a sacred tower. And then there's also a dusty, cobwebby dungeon. Now, the sacred tower represents all of our current existing, closely held beliefs and identity stories. Everything from your values and thoughts about yourself to things like family or spirituality or life in general, just all the things. And down in the dusty old dungeon are all of the things that we once believed but no longer do. Old beliefs, old identity stories, things that we've already let go of because we either didn't need them, they no longer served us, or they had been proven untrue. And from inside the castle, peeking into that looking glass, we're going to pinpoint any of the identity stories connected to your big yummy goal to it's not happening. So if you're struggling to figure out where to go with this or how to pinpoint it, one thing you could try looking at is what happens when you try to visualize it, getting your goal to completion. So as you try to imagine having that thing you want in your hands, what immediately pops up? Is there anxiety about something related to it? Is there a, oh no, but what about this, that kind of pops in? What are the glitches in the matrix of that visualization? The spot where the visualization just gets stuck. And that will give you some helpful insight to kind of discern where the issues are or where the stoppering beliefs may be. Now, I know it can also help us to have examples, so I'll give you a few here, but definitely make sure that the belief you're working through actually fits you and fits your unique situation. So for example, you could ask yourself, what identity are you carrying in relation to not getting this goal done? What are you telling yourself about yourself in relation to not achieving it? So is it something only other people can have? Is it always in the future, just a smidge out of reach? Does it feel like it's just a tiny bit impossible? Or has it come to mean something about you, something that doesn't feel good? For example, I never finish things. I always overthink things. I never have a good strategy. I always let the ball drop. I will never be as good as blank. No one will ever buy this. And one thing I notice across all of these examples and many of my own limiting identity stories when I catch them is that it tends to be very all or nothing thinking, using language like always or never or no one. And then the other noteworthy sign where you're trying to catch out this belief is that it just feels bad. It's not very constructive. It'll sound very bullying, something that you would never say to someone else. So now we're going to hunt down that current belief, the one that feels icky, find where it lives in the tower, and I want you to reflect for just a moment on if you're able to poke any holes in this belief, in this identity story. So if the belief is, I never make sales, but there were 3 times that you did, that's poking a little hole in it. That's kind of questioning it and poking a hole. So just imagine that maybe right now you are feeling open to doubting this belief. There's a chance that maybe it's not completely true, and especially it's not true all the time with that always or never language. And now allow yourself to consider letting it go. And when you feel ready, take that identity story or that belief. You can maybe wrap a butterfly net around it if you would like and swoop it down into that dusty dungeon where all the other old stories live that no longer serve you. You can be as dramatic as you like, you can chain it up, you can lock the door, whatever you would like to do, but it no longer lives in your castle tower. And now a little bit later, we're going to replace the old belief with a new one. But for now, let's continue on our journey so that we can get home in time for tea. And speaking of tea, we've come across a mad tea party. At first glance, it might look like the Mad Hatter, the March Hare, and the Dormouse, but a closer peek shows us that it's really a table set with a few little things for us to consider about the design of our goal or project or plan. Sometimes the sticky spot that we got into was the way we actually structured the goal in the first place. So first off, it's worth asking yourself, do you actually believe that it's possible? It doesn't even have to be likely or probable, but do you actually think it could happen? Or have you created a goal that you don't believe in at all? Like it's not even close. I've done this too. Someone else maybe told you to do it or they recommended it for you as a goal, but you kind of haven't grown into it yet. And if that is the case, if it doesn't really feel like it's fitting you, maybe it needs to be updated or revamped based on what you now know, because you can't achieve someone else's goal. And more importantly, you can't achieve something that you're really, really far away from believing in as possible. Now, we can up-level beliefs into possibility. We can make some small steps here at the conscious level, but if you need to change your goal in order for it to feel like a closer fit, then change the goal. Secondly, is there something about the goal that you're concerned about? Something potentially negative that would also come with it if it happened. We call this in the NLP realm secondary gain. And all that means is that you're blocked from your goal because if you get it, along with it comes something else that you're actually worried about. That's the secondary gain from achieving it. And just to give you an example, one of my first ever clients desperately wanted to get to the gym every single day after work. That was her goal. And through our work together, she uncovered that she was actually really upset about losing her sit down and chill time after her stressful job. And this was actually a need that had to be fulfilled in order for her to get anywhere close to that goal. So we would say that the secondary gain of going to the gym after work was also losing out on that me time that she was actually really upset about and really afraid of happening. And until that could get addressed in some way, she was not going to ever consistently make it to the gym after work. So it's worth checking in. Are there any fears or hesitations around achieving it? And if you notice anything there, this is wonderful news, because now you can do something with that information. Whether we need to go and satisfy an unmet need or solve something or work through something with a mindset practitioner, this is wonderful information for us to have. So now, whether you've opted to change the goal or keep it as it was, let's just do a quick check-in on whether it's designed in an optimal way for the best chance of succeeding. So we want to make sure it's worded in a way to attract what you want to move towards and achieve, and not unwittingly bog it down at the subconscious level. So we have this quickie 3-part checklist that I've dubbed the 3 P's for goal building: positive, present, and power. So the first P is the goal is stated in the positive, meaning that it's stated in the affirmative as something that you want to have happen versus something that you want to avoid or stop or go away from. Our subconscious is wired to naturally move towards things versus away from things. And when we're focusing on a goal over and over, that reticular activating system steps forward and helps us to become even more aware of or attentive to whatever it is in our environment that goes along with that focus. So we want the goal to be designed to take us closer towards something we desire, rather than having a goal that's centered around stopping, reducing, or avoiding something. So let's have a fun example to kind of bring this to life. Since we're here talking about tarts today, let's just say, for this example, we all love tarts. But we've noticed that maybe it's not the best thing to just be eating tarts all day long. And just for the record, zero judgment. So we don't want our goal to be, I'm going to eat fewer tarts, or I'm never going to eat tarts, or I'm going to stay away from tarts, because all your brain is recording from those messages is tarts, tarts, tarts. All that your subconscious can take in is the object that you're focused on. The reason why a goal like this doesn't work very well is because at the subconscious level, we have a very tough time processing a negative or the absence of something. So if I tell you right now, whatever you do, do not think of a fresh strawberry tart. The very first thing your mind starts to do is to conjure up the image of a fresh strawberry tart, just so that you can then try to cancel it out. It just doesn't work. So when you're walking around all day long saying, don't eat the tarts, don't eat the tarts, your brain is focused on tarts, and that lovely reticular activating system is out there looking for tarts, seeking out evidence that they exist, noticing where they are, and even finding fun little opportunities to try to get hold of one. Not helpful. So it's much easier to focus on the presence of or addition of a new object, desire, emotion, or outcome to move towards. So maybe what we really want to be doing is eating bananas, for example. I'm going to eat a banana every day. Or I'm going to eat a banana when I feel hungry. Or when I want a snack, I'm going to reach for a banana. And the more that we are focused there, our brain stays focused on the banana, not the tarts. So make sure that you're writing your goal in the sense of what you want to move towards. The second P is for present, stating the goal in the present as if it's already happening, not in some future time. We don't want it to be jam tomorrow and never jam today. The mind is always existing in the now. in the present. And we can confuse our subconscious when we're speaking in the future all the time, because then it doesn't seem like it's ever reaching into that now. If we use language like, I will have 10K months, the message isn't getting delivered at the deeper level. It never arrives. The future never gets here because you're always speaking of something that will happen instead of is happening. So you want to word your goal in the sense of, I am earning blank per month. I am working with 10 clients, whatever it is. Do it in the present and not in the future. The third P is in your power. So stating it in empowering language. We want to avoid using language like, I hope to, I plan to, if possible, I would like to. Instead, we want to be very clear and authoritative about it. This is what is happening. Not I hope to or I'll try, because you're already trying and you don't need to embed that ambiguity into the language for your goal. So embody your own powerful intention, choosing language that is empowering rather than passive or merely hopeful. So just to recap, number 1, check if your goal is stated in the positive, as in what you're moving towards. Number 2, stated in the present as I am, not I will. And stated in your power, where it's authoritative and not wishy-washy language. And all of this can help ensure that your goal or plan is that much more possible to attain. So now that we've reviewed and up-leveled and polished our goal, and we've gotten rid of an old identity story that wasn't serving our goal, now it's time to step into your new magical identity. Now we know that our habits and behaviors will follow this identity story that we have about ourselves. And when you change that identity story in the sense of I am a person who, then the habits to make it real will follow naturally. So let's look at, what do you wish it to be? So some examples here could be things like, I am a person who is successful. I am a person who meets my goals, who gets what I want, who is loved and supported, who can find a way. Or you can get more specific and do things like is earning X dollars, is serving X clients, or is experiencing something specific. And notice that all of these are written in the positive, in the present, and in your power. So now this is your opportunity to craft your gorgeous new identity story about who you are, which will influence the things that you do, the choices that you make, and ultimately the experience that you have in the world. And right now, it's very important for me to mention that this only needs to be a slight up level. It can be a very small shift. It doesn't have to go from 0 to 100. So if the old belief was, I never can do this, then your up level may be, there's a chance that I could do this. I'm open to the possibility that I could do this. So notice yourself now, allowing for the possibility that this new belief is actually viable, that it could be, that it's possible. And just that little thing alone, in there you've made a huge transformation from that door being completely closed with the word never, and now you've cracked the door open just enough to let the light in, just enough to let the magic in. And now your subconscious and the gorgeous neuroscience of your brain can work to find evidence of that new story, helping to create it out into reality, which just makes it that much more likely to occur. So now it's time to place your new magical identity into that castle tower. So once again, noticing the tall, sacred castle tower, observing how this new identity story that you've created is now moving into that tower, taking root in there, becoming a fixture, and finding a home. And now allowing yourself to just step into the energy of that gorgeous new magical identity. You can say it to yourself. You can write it down. You can start telling other people about it. You can notice when you spot evidence of it. And when you're making a decision, you can say, now, what would someone who ... choose right now? So you can see already where it will begin to show up. And now we've made a big transition from impossible to possible, which is why we're here in Wonderland to talk about believing in 6 impossible things before breakfast. All it is opening a teeny tiny window in a dark room into thinking of it as possible. And what that does is it sends a message out to the universe and down to your subconscious, with your brain now working on your behalf towards that goal. So we have talked through today how potent it is when you get your mindset sorted and your beliefs up-leveled. The next time you're out there taking action, the action will be that much more potent, that much more powerful. And your new up-leveled perspective will boost your vibration and the energy that you're carrying when you connect with others. It will influence your magnetism and the way that you interact in the world, and it'll help to up-level your behavior and your choices accordingly. So together today, we've done some of the conscious exercises that can help us to rejig our thought patterns. We can also address things at the deeper subconscious level, and much, much more can be accomplished at that level. Changing those thought patterns is neuroplasticity. It's our brain's ability to make new neural pathways that do new things, which allow us to do new things that we haven't achieved before. You've taken a big step in crafting that new magical identity, and now maybe you're wondering, how do I keep this going? So the thing is, neuroplasticity is grown between repetition, relaxation, and emotional intensity. The brain loves repetition for building a new neural pathway. But when it comes to these new stories that we're creating, it can be a challenge to remember to walk around all day whispering to yourself about this new identity story. So it really helps to have a reinforcement tool to kind of put your up-leveled beliefs on repeat and maybe even enhance them and take you to that next level that you're wanting. And this is just one of many reasons why I love recorded hypnosis for your up-leveling work, because being recorded helps with that repetition side of building new neural pathways. And hypnosis has a well-proven record for helping with things like behavior change, trauma, anxiety. You'll often hear it touted for helping to change habits like smoking and eating, as well as helping with physical pain and enhancing performance. And the beautiful thing about hypnosis is that it includes a specific series of statements surrounding the new magical identity that you're building. It's also much easier to form new neural pathways when we're in the deeper brainwaves of alpha and theta, which are kind of like a twilight in between being awake and being asleep. In those deeper states, new neurons are more easily formed, existing ones are renewed, and the old discarded ones, such as those that we stuck in the dungeon, will fade. And we can get into those deeper brainwaves using tools like hypnosis and yoga nidra. So when you put those two magical elements together, one, having that repetition of that specially crafted message as a recording, while at the same time, two, being in that deeper brainwave, you get the benefit of both together, which is like a double boost for your neuroplasticity. And this is where having a built-in mindset tool like hypnosis being available on demand really reaches the deeper levels of your subconscious to help you create that new neural network. And it can seem like magic, but it's also neuroscience. When I am designing hypnosis, whether it's a custom hypnosis audio or one of the ready-to-go hypnosis audios that go into my Hypno-Pothecary, I focus on how to best optimize the wiring of those neural pathways for your success and for your desired goal. First, I have a look at the energy of what is wanted. So what is it that you're moving towards? What is it that you deeply desire? And then I use all the power in my training, my master's in hypnosis, neurolinguistics, language, psychology, all my years of understanding human behavior through counseling, through neuroscience, in order to craft the perfect message that can speak to your subconscious so that you can up-level that belief that's tied to your desires and goals. When you're relaxed down into those deeper brain waves, things are more clay-like, where we can kind of mold and optimize those internal stories more easily. Hypnotherapists use language in a very specific way, accounting for a lot of different things like decision styles, thinking patterns. We know how to design a script that can shift an old stuck story into a beautiful new belief. Even things like tone and inflection are highly specific to subconscious communication. So we work all of that into the picture, writing the script, editing it, recording it, and then I polish it. I add in a touch of soothing binaural music just to make it a really gorgeous journey. And when it's all finished, I add in a dash of Reiki, my own personal magic, and my well wishes for you to have everything you're desiring and for it to be for your highest good. Because my role is to see the horizon of possibilities that exist for you, to believe in those things for you, and then show you the view so that you can start to believe in it for yourself. It's kind of like handing you a little torch. So if this is sounding juicier and juicier, then I would like to share with you a couple of ways that you can grab hold of this special magic. So we've said the brain loves repetition for building new neural pathways, and that recorded hypnosis is the perfect tool to get that juicy benefit. And it so happens that I love choices, and so I'm going to give you 3. The most personalized option will be custom hypnosis, which is centered around a specific desire or goal that you choose that you have. And it's crafted just for you, and you'll also get to choose some of the elements of it. So the custom hypnosis option currently has an early birdie offer, and that makes it a special price for the first 3 people. So it's usually $111 US, but for those first 3 people, for early birdie, it'll be $88 US. And I've also decided to include a month in the Hypno-Pothecary while you're waiting for your custom hypnosis. So the custom option includes a personalized downloadable hypnosis audio for you to keep with a focus or goal chosen by you specific to your desires, and all of that magic goes into designing and creating it for you. So it's not a live hypnosis session. The magic is in having it available to you on repeat, on demand. And the structure is that you receive a confidential form to provide all the needed information, and then you'll get to choose a date for the development to begin. And then your gorgeous custom hypnosis should be ready within about 10 days. So with that extra month in the Hypno-Pothecary being included in the package, all told this would normally be $120 US. But those first 3 people will get it for $88 US, and then the price will go to $111. But either way, it still includes the free month in the Hypno-Pothecary. If you don't know what the Hypno-Pothecary is, don't worry, I'm going to explain it as well. And as far as custom hypnosis, for this year, I'm probably only going to be taking an additional 4, maybe 5 new custom clients through the end of this year. But you don't need to worry because that early birdie price can be claimed now all the way through the end of November. And if you need to, or if my calendar for the rest of the year is already full, you don't have to worry. You can just schedule it out into January or February if needed. Now, I also understand that perhaps you've only just met me today, or perhaps you're not quite ready to take that leap into customized hypnosis, but maybe you're still thinking, I sure would like to try some of this magical stuff, and it's all good. I've got something for you as well. So there are 2 other options for hypnosis, which are a little bit less personalized, but just as magical. And they come in at a lower price point that allows you to get a little bit of experience with hypnosis. So I have a collection of already existing hypnosis audios on a big variety of topics. Everything from what we talked through today with achieving goals and getting results to things like boosting your confidence, health and wellness, stress and overwhelm, sleep and eating, relationships, creativity. There are a lot of choices. And the majority of these are available for individual purchase at only $22 each. And each one is a full recorded hypnosis session that guides you along a beautiful journey and lays those tracks to build the new neural pathways for whatever the goal or desire or focus of that hypnosis. And with this option, you get to download and keep the audio forever as an MP3 file, and they will range in length from 12 to about 20 minutes, so it's very easy to fit it into your day. Now, for this option for Early Birdie, there's also special pricing, and instead of $22, those audios are available for $18 through the end of November as well. And if you decide you're interested in one of those individual audios and you just can't decide, I would point you towards either Planning with Vision, which is very closely related to today's topic, or Manifesting Desires, which is also connected to what we chatted through today, focusing on reconnecting with your vision, with your plan, with your goal. And finally, if you just want access to all the hypnosis all the time, you can also become a member of my Hypno-Pothecary, which is a monthly membership at $7 that gives you access to listen to the entire collection through an online portal. So you're listening through that membership portal versus owning the individual audio. And that membership price is also on special during Early Birdie for only $5 monthly. The best part about this is that whenever you become a member, you lock in your price for the duration of your membership. So no matter how that price changes in the future, you get to keep your $5 monthly price, which makes it a great time to hop in if you've been thinking about it. And it includes all of my hypnosis audios and that collection, as well as yoga nidra journeys. There are some EFT tapping videos, and there are some other mini meditations and visualizations. And the nice thing is you can cancel on your own at any time. You don't have to contact me or anything like that. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those while we're here. So just to quickly recap, the Early Birdie custom hypnosis is $88 US for the first 3 people, and then it goes to $111 US, and both options include a month inside the Hypno-Pothecary. You can also purchase individual hypnosis audios that exist already for only $18 US on Early Birdie. They're normally $22. Or you can hop into the Hypno-Pothecary membership, which is on special for only $5 US a month. And all of these pricing opportunities are open until November 30th. So there's no rush, pressure. You have the whole month of November to decide about Early Birdie, but the price for the custom hypnosis will adjust to $111 once it's been claimed by those first 3 people at $88 US. So now you've got some yummy options to support your big yummy goal, and I am really excited to see what you create with this new magical identity. And I just want to say how much I appreciate you coming along today. This has been really, really fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you, and that you've gained some valuable insights that you can put to good use straight away. And whether or not our adventure together will continue beyond this today, I have genuinely enjoyed spending this time with you. And I wish you a totally magical and creative rest of your day.